What if the Enclave were the good guys?
What the hell are you saying?
What if the Enclave are the good guys in Fallout 3? Okay, I know what you're thinking. Austin, like, what about...
Who is it? What? Who is this?
My name is Emmy.
Okay, sure, you have a point. And you're not gonna find me arguing in favor of eugenics. I've seen how that story ends. But let's just put that aside for a second and take a look at the world in which we live in Fallout 3, and to an extent, the entire franchise.
You grow up in a vault, a hardy relic of a pre-war era. Safe, secure, regimented. Everything from when and where you sleep to what you eat to your job, clothes, and technology you use is predestined and controlled by the all-powerful, ever-watchful Overseer. Safety, but at the expense of liberty. Nice, but it would make for a very boring game.
Oh no! Oh, bad time. Bad time for that. I didn't even get a chance to...
Oh, well, shit. Anyway, the game begins and the system fails, and you're thrust into the post-nuclear wasteland, and it is fucking unhinged.
There's dirt, raiders, super mutants, people living on a boat that's clearly going to evaporate into powder in 5 years. The sun, fucking zombies, zombie bears, and unbelievable, unprecedented levels of freedom on a level we have not seen since a time predating the age of agriculture, except now there's shotguns and nuclear bombs that you can launch from a slingshot on your shoulder.
And sure, you may die at any moment when a super mutant behemoth decides to play golf with your asshole, but that is the price you pay for total freedom. Anarchy at the cost of safety. And this might sound familiar to some of you who have taken a philosophy course or paid attention to high school government, and it should. We're about to talk about Hobbes and Rousseau.
Thomas Hobbes believed that a long time ago we all lived in a hellish landscape of selfish, brutish monsters, and those monsters were us. We took what we wanted when we could and suffered people taking what they wanted from us. Might was the only law of the land, and this is the way things were. He called it the state of nature. In order to protect ourselves against stronger bullies who would kill us for our stuff, we grouped together and agreed to some basic rules at the expense of total freedom. He called that arrangement the social contract.
Okay, so it was like basically, dear everybody else, I agree to not rape, steal, and murder. Then I guess I'll pay like taxes for like roads and stuff too, and everybody else, you in turn agree to also follow these rules and make sure that other people follow them. Signed, Austin.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau came later and was like, hey, yeah, but what if instead of the state of nature being awful, it was actually awesome? And people just had sex all the time, and then people who were jealous of that were like, no, you can't do what you want, I want to control everything! And now we live under the dictatorial thumb of the oppression of the masses, man. The contract of socialness is a sham. So, to summarize, Hobbes thought that the state of nature was awful and horrible, and that we needed the social contract to keep ourselves from killing each other and our lives from being very short, whereas Rousseau thought that the state of nature was awesome, and that the social contract just oppresses all of us.
What does this have to do with Fallout? Or the Enclave, for that matter? Well, while the rest of us are doomed to argue about the reality of the state of nature until our species inevitably goes extinct, Fallout has already done their homework. Well, in their world at least. You see, when the bombs dropped on October 23rd, 2077, the big reset button was hit on human society and nature was returned to its original state, the state of nature. And which does it more resemble to you? Idyllic and awesome like Rousseau thought it would be, or more like Hobbes, a shitty bad place where the strong do what they can while the weak suffer what they must?
What the fuck does this have to do with the Enclave? Eden wanted to put a modified strain of the forced evolutionary virus into Project Purity and wipe out every non-human mutant from the wasteland.
Yeah, but the Enclave isn't led by John Henry Eden. It's led by Colonel Augustus Autumn.
When you're in the Enclave base, Raven Rock, and Colonel Autumn says, oh shit, the president's lost his mind, do what I say, who do the Enclave soldiers follow? It's not Eden. And all Colonel Autumn wants to do is seize Project Purity and use it to lend weight to the authority of the Enclave and start forming a functioning, centralized government again, using water to enforce the social contract, not violence. And sure, of course Autumn was planning on killing you. Most of the people who survive in the shitty wilderness of the wasteland are only able to really do so by murder bludgeoning everyone in the vicinity to death with a lead pipe like Mad Max in the beginning of Fury Road. Outsiders who haven't been socialized are a liability. And he was right! You, as the lone wanderer, go on to utterly mess up his plans, either by putting a bullet in his brain pan or by the world's most disappointing speech check.
Yeah, and then there's the
Brotherhood of Steel.
Taking control of Project Purity, they inefficiently try to distribute the water to the scattered inhabitants of the wasteland. For free! With no support or sacrifices from local citizens. And the system is exploited by snake oil salesmen, religious fanatics, and violent criminals. And the entire expansion campaign of Broken Steel is just the Brotherhood charging through the wasteland, rage-murdering remnant Enclave with their giant toy robot. An Enclave they think is essentially neutered until they nuke Liberty Prime from orbit. Hey, what's your fucking point?
Okay, right. Fallout builds its entire narrative structure exploring the balance between chaos and order, between the state of nature and the social contract. And upon this premise, it asserts that the state of nature is a Hobbesian one, where it's just big people punching small people for their bottles of Nuka-Cola.
The logical solution to the Hobbesian state of nature is the social contract, where we all band together as a group and give up our freedoms to nuke a grenade our neighbor in the face for being annoying in order to keep him from shoving rusty spikes up my fingernails for pocket change. The Enclave, as the most technologically advanced faction with the most access to education and materials, are a totally suited candidate to spearhead such a thing under the banner of Project Purity. Clean water for all, at the price of not shooting your neighbor in the skull. Instead, the Brotherhood of Steel murder deaths everyone in order to preserve the status quo. A status quo that only benefits them and then proceeds to reinforce that status quo by taking their big bad robot and punching the weak Enclave remnant in the face. Sure, the Enclave isn't perfect, but extreme as hell times call for extreme as hell solutions. The first laws in our world weren't you go to jail for a year and then you're on probation. They cut off your hands or beat you to death with rocks.
The Enclave is awful, but maybe, just maybe, they're the government the wasteland needs. Thanks for watching.
This is 3 Dog.
Hey guys, thanks for watching my first episode of Rethinking, a show where we'll be looking at games and concepts that we're all pretty familiar with, but through the lens of my neuroses. What do you guys think? Are the Enclave a bunch of misunderstood victims, or am I just a racist who's pro-fascism? Let me know in the comment section below what you think, and I'll see you guys next week. Or the week after that. We never really talked about a schedule while we were doing these. They're really hard to make. All right, sometime, bye.